morning. Can everybody hear? All right. I'm so happy to be here today. Thank God. And I hope that my little testimony, my history will be an inspiration for you. It's been wonderful to reflect upon my life and how stewardship has been a wonderful part of my life. The theme for this year's All right, how are we doing now? We doing? You can hear. All right, so I was saying that as I reflected on stewardship in my life, I realized that my parents really were role models for stewardship. I was raised in a Pentecostal church in eastern Montana. Eastern Montana is ranch country, and there's big open spaces between towns. So it was a very small church. When my parents took us, my sister and I, to church 3 times a week, it was Sunday morning, Sunday night, and Wednesday evening for Bible study. And we did that throughout our life. They designated time and priority for the church services. I grew up with a sense of community because our friends were in the church, and that sense of community was always important in my life. Whenever I went to a new place, the first place I would go is to a church, because that's where I would experience a sense of community. In our home, my father read Bible stories from an illustrated Bible story book to my sister and I every night. So the practices from church, we not only heard about the Bible in church, but we heard about it at home. We always prayed before meals. My parents gave my sister and I piano lessons so that we could learn the basics of music, and so we could sing along in church and maybe play the piano in church one day. As a child, we were given this little barrel. Honestly, it was a little wooden barrel about this tall. Every child in the church had that little wooden barrel. And what was the purpose of that? For whatever money you received from your parents that you put in your piggy bank, if it was $1, a dime of that went into your little barrel. If it was 50 cents, 5 cents of that, your money went into that barrel. And once a month, we would take our barrel and we'd empty it into the offering plate. That was my first experience about giving of treasure, and at that, giving a tithe to the church. It stuck with me for my entire life. I was baptized at age 12. When it came time for me to get a driver's license and have a car, my parents bought a car with the explicit purpose that I was to use that car to assist people to come to church. And I needed to pick up a family every Sunday morning and bring them to church, which I did. And I was supposed to be independent also in going to church myself. I ultimately attended the church college, and that was in Minneapolis. And it was there that during a church history class, I heard the words Greek Orthodox, Russian Orthodox. That's all I remember. But years later, it would come back to me in a very different way. I'm a convert to the Orthodox Church. And through my experience in the Orthodox Church, I have carried forward the principles of stewardship in my life. I met a man who himself had a similar background, religious background to mine, and we were married. We were married in the Orthodox Church. In 1977, I was chrismated into the Orthodox Church. Now, also in 1977, we were living in Eugene, Oregon, where we were attending the University of Oregon. At the same time that we moved there, a Greek Orthodox mission was being formed in Eugene. At that time, the only Orthodox churches of any kind were in Portland. So we would have to drive to Portland to church. Well, when we found out that there was a Greek Orthodox mission being formed in Eugene, my husband and I jumped right on board. This was a time when this theme for our stewardship campaign this year, really, it made sense to me again. The theme, again, is a time for every purpose under the sun. We were starting out our careers. We were starting out a new church, a new mission. We were starting a family. And there were a lot of opportunities to make decisions about how we were going to use our time. There was a point at which our careers could have been taken into a more profitable, a more prestigious direction if we would move out of Eugene. But we considered that we felt we were put there at that particular time with that particular purpose to assist in developing this mission parish. And we ultimately developed our careers in Eugene. There was another choice that related to time. The priests from Portland, there were various priests from Antiochia, the Russian Orthodox Church, and the Greek Orthodox Church. They took turns coming down and serving us on Saturday. Did you ever try to develop a church from nothing to, a thriving church on Saturday morning? You had sports activities for your children. You had all kinds of children's activities. So that was another time to make a choice. Were we going to enroll our children in activities that would take us away from a Saturday morning liturgy? And we decided many occasions to bring our children to church. Ultimately, I served on the parish council, taught Sunday school, learned how to bake prosphero and artoklasia, learned the simple liturgical hymns in English because we had congregational singing. There was no chanter and no choir. Most of us were, there were a lot of converts, and there were Greek Orthodox individuals who had married a non-Orthodox person. So there wasn't a lot of, I'd say, common knowledge about all the elements of a liturgy, especially the music. So we continued to tithe and to contribute, support our mission with our treasure. We had to pay for the priests that would come down bi-weekly from Portland, and also put money into a building fund. So how many years were we there doing that? Liturgies on Saturday, believing and hoping that we would one day have a Greek Orthodox church in Eugene, Oregon. 15 years. 15 years is a long time when you don't have a priest. And it's a really long time to keep believing that you're going to have a church here. I would imagine that many of your relatives who are immigrants and came from Greece, they had to have that same kind of faith that you put everything into this mission that you have. You want it to succeed. You want to raise your children in an Orthodox church. So we got our first priest in 1992. We were so happy. And we were able to build a multi-purpose building in 1995. To grow a church takes time. It takes lots of time. There were, in our community of Eugene, there were lapsed Orthodox from all kinds of backgrounds. But they were lapsed because they did not have an Orthodox church, and they had established their families, and they were, in some cases, going to other churches, or they were not going to church at all. We tried to reach those individuals. Some of them came. Then we tried to educate the broader community in Eugene about Orthodoxy. We were the very first Orthodox church in that community. Not a lot of people knew what Orthodoxy was. And many of us who were converts were learning about Orthodoxy ourselves. We had a really great outreach we had to develop toward converts. And fortunately, the priests that we eventually had, we always had good priests who were able to relate to converts, who were able to teach the faith, and we had many, many converts come into the church. Growing a church also takes welcoming. You have to have a lot of hospitality. You have to have people who will go to the fellowship hour and sit there and have coffee, and you listen to them and talk with them, and they feel welcome. In 2017, I had a change in my life and an opportunity to move to Chicago to live with my daughter's family and my two grandchildren. The biggest concern that I had in moving to Chicago was finding a church where I could serve. You may know that I loved St. George Greek Orthodox Church. It embodied my formation as an Orthodox Christian. Pardon me. So I was very anxious when moving to Chicago. Thank you. I was anxious. My daughter and her family were attending an OCA church, a lovely church where they were married, and I went with them to their church. I could have joined that church, but I saw St. Basil on this corner, and it was the closest Greek Orthodox church to where we live. I had been Greek Orthodox for 40 years, and one Sunday I came into the church. I remember sitting in the pew about where Lambros is sitting now. And as I was listening to Father Panteleimon in the liturgy, I just started to get tears in my eyes. I knew that I was meant to be in a Greek Orthodox church. And I would soon learn that this church was going to give me opportunities to serve. I was welcomed warmly by Father Panteleimon and a member of the parish council who took me down to the fellowship hour, listened to me, introduced me to Philoptos ladies, talked with me about my interests, and I felt welcomed. It was wonderful. So when Father Dimitri came, he asked me to join the welcome ministry here. I had previously at St. George also worked in the welcome ministry there, and I was happy to join the welcome ministry, even though I didn't know a lot of the people here. And then I realized that there was a choir here. I was singing one day. I was just sitting in the pew, and I was just humming because that's what I was accustomed to in church with congregational singing. And, the lady that was sitting in the pew in front of me approached me during fellowship hour, and she said, I heard you singing during the liturgy. Do you sing? I said, I love to sing. And so she introduced me to George. And I found out that there was a beautiful choir with an enthusiastic director, and I was just thrilled. I had listened to Ancient Faith Radio a lot and listened to the hymns of the church in 4-part harmony. I wanted to sing in 4-part harmony in the church. I have been able to do that through our choir at St. Basil, and then expand that beautiful experience through singing with the Federation. A great experience for me was the Federation annual conference that we hosted in October. It was wonderful. Oh, I failed to mention that I learned how to sing in Greek for the first time at St. Basil. I didn't know how to sing in Greek before that. Then I learned of all the opportunities to serve. There was Dress a Girl. Now, how did you all know that I love to sew? And I could actually bring my sewing machine to Dress a Girl and make clothing for children in need. All the programs that we have here to feed the hungry have just been so exciting, and you feel just wonderful serving. I think the prison ministry is one of our signature ministries in this parish that many other parishes don't have. And the prison ministry, it has a potential to outreach to our immediate community where we are here at St. Basil, and really make an impact in lives that they need. So thank God for that. Now, St. Basil has been referred to as a small church. I don't experience St. Basil as a small church. It's a big church, as far as I'm concerned. Well, what does St. Basil have? What sets us apart? We do not have a vast facility with a gym and many Sunday school rooms and meeting rooms and everything. We don't have a parking lot that meets our needs every Sunday. We don't have that. You know what we have? We have an excellent location. Whenever I mention that I attend St. Basil Greek Orthodox Church to anyone who's not from the Greek Orthodox community, they always recognize, the church that's across the street from Rush Hospital, in the medical district. We have a great location, and hopefully we'll continue to use that location. St. Basil was updated beautifully after the fire. I never saw it before. I've only seen pictures. But you walk into this church and the colors are warm and the wood is soft. It creates a very worshipful experience. I've had people who've looked on at our website and say, I want to go there. It really looks welcoming. It looks traditional. The icons are traditional. That's a place that I want to go. Most of all, St. Basil has a warm and welcoming spirit, and one can find a place to serve right here. I do not want to forget to mention that we have Father Dimitri, who is a gifted liturgist. He has beautiful liturgies. He is an excellent listener. He's a spiritual advisor. He's calm and level-headed when I'm not. He also has amazing technical skills, something you don't recognize at first, but all the presence that we have in our website and in social media, and with the, we're live streaming this service today every Sunday, and every service we have here on Facebook Live. It's a wonderful thing. Thank you, Father Dimitri, for doing that and for having that vision for making our services more accessible to people. And it's a great outreach. I've told people about, you can go to our website and watch a liturgy. It's a great outreach tool. I'm thankful that God directed me to St. Basil to give my time, talent, and treasure. Once again, I remind you of the theme, which is so appropriate to my experience at St. Basil, a time for every purpose under heaven. Thank you very much.